Every time Toronto real estate makes headlines, it's usually one of the two stories. Either its bidding wars are back or the crash is coming. But lately there's a new phrase showing up in listings, one that's got the people talking again. It's called power of sale. You've probably seen it tagged on a few listings lately. Maybe it's on that semi-detached in Etobicoke or downtown condo that suddenly says bank sale in the title. So what's going on? Are banks seizing people's homes or not? Or is this the start of a meltdown, some 2008 crash kind of meltdown? So let's talk about it, because the truth is more complicated than that, and actually it's more interesting. So a few weeks ago, Better Dueling dropped an article that made real estate Twitter explode. The article was called Toronto Real Estate's Latest Record Distress Listings. So I'll provide the link to the article down below as well. Here's what they found. By the end of the summer 2025, there were 150 active listings, 149 actually active power of sale listings across the GTA, and that's up 30% from a year ago, and about 6 times higher than what it was in August 2022. And here's the kicker: by mid-September, there were already above 1,200 power of sale listings for the year. So it was beating all of 2024. Now that sounds dramatic, I know, right? But before we panic by basically gold, as you have seen, it was rallying above $4,000 per ounce, or I'm talking about US dollars, of course. Before we move to the woods, let's pause and think about it for a second, because those 149 listings, they still made up only around 1% of all new listings in the past month. So yes, it's rising fast, but it's not a flood yet. It's more like a smoke from a campfire, small, but you notice it kind of. So what the heck is the power of sale? Let's decode this for a second. In Ontario, when someone stops paying their mortgage, the lender doesn't need to go to the court to take the property back. They can use something called power of sale, which is basically a legal shortcut built into most mortgage contracts. Here's how it works. The bank says, hey, you're behind on your payments. They send a formal notice if you don't catch up within the required period, usually about 2-3 months from the time that you receive the notice. The bank can list the home for sale themselves, and the key word here is to sell, not to seize. They are not taking ownership. They are basically simply selling it to recover what you owe them. If the property sells for more than the debt, that extra money goes back to the homeowner. So technically, you could still walk away with a check even after defaulting. Now, that's very different from the United States, because they have foreclosure system. Sometimes my client asks me, okay, what are the foreclosure sales in Toronto? I explain to them that foreclosure is for United States. Here we have power of sale. So in a foreclosure, the bank the bank actually becomes the owner. It goes through the courts, takes several months probably, and when it's over, the homeowner usually loses everything. The Canada system is faster, cleaner, and believe it or not, in my opinion, it's more humane and less brutal. So the bank doesn't want your house, it wants its money back. So when you see power of sale, it doesn't mean abandoned homes or boarded up streets. It means that the bank is cutting its losses and moving on. So why is power of sales are rising now? So why we are seeing more of them, you may ask. So think back 2021 and 22, the FOMO years that we have after the COVID. So rates were 1 to 2%. Everybody and their cousins were buying properties. So people were taking on massive mortgages, some with variable rates, some borrowing from private lenders, assuming it's fine, the rates will never go up. Well, they did go up, and they went up big time. By 2025, those same variable rates were sitting around 5%. So that's like waking up one day and realizing your $3,000 mortgage payment is suddenly $5,000, and now mix that with higher grocery bills, higher insurance, higher property taxes, and well, it's easy to see why some owners are running at the runway. And when they do, the lender steps in with the power of sale. So bank sales are not fire sales that you may think. Here's where people get confused. When a listing says bank sale or power of sale, everybody thinks, sweet, what a bargain. But you better slow down here for a minute, because a power of sale doesn't mean half price deal. Under Ontario laws, the lenders have to sell for the fair market value. They cannot just dump the property for cheap, or they would be sued by the original owner for underselling that property. So yeah, you might think, or you might find a slight discount, maybe 5%, 6%, 7% below the market, especially if the house needs some work. But you won't be picking up, for example, $1 million house for $400,000. And there's risk involved with that as well, because you're buying in most of the, not most, actually when you look at all those contracts and bank sale or power sale contracts, always they have disclosures that this property is being sold as is, where is. So meaning that you're buying buying the property as is. No guarantees about the fairness, no inspection sometimes, and there's nobody to fix for example, the little surprises after closing. So meaning that you have to be prepared to take on those risks as well in exchange to getting that discount. So it can be a good opportunity, but it's not a guaranteed win. There are risks involved with power of sales as well. Now let's talk about the human side of those numbers. So behind every power of sale headline, there's a real story, a family that bought at the peak thinking rates would stay low forever, a small landlord maybe who got hit by higher payments and tenant issues, that tenants that are not paying rent, or someone whose private mortgage ballooned and couldn't renew that mortgage. It's not always the recklessness, sometimes it's just bad timing for those homeowners. And when the banks move to sell, those stories don't show up in the stats as you could see in that article. All we see is a number, 149 distressed listings across the GTA. But to me, that's the part worth remembering. These aren't faceless charts. They are people who stretched at some point and the market stretched back. Unfortunately, the market was stronger. So now you may be asking that million-dollar question. Is this beginning of a bigger slide or bigger crash? In my opinion, or let's say, I don't think so. Because even though the distressed listings are rising, overall sales in the GTA have been also ticking up month over month. Prices are still down compared to last year, but they have been creeping up again since the beginning of the summer. And there is still a strong demand from first-time home buyers and immigrants coming into the GTA. So instead of a crash, what we might be seeing is a market cleanse. So the people who over leverage are being squeezed out, and that's painful, we know that, but it's also how the markets reset. You clear out the excess, prices find their footing and their support, and the confidence slowly rebuilds, and that's what bottoms look like. They don't ring a bell and say, oh, this is the bottom. They just feel uncomfortable. So this is a reality check for everyone. Let's be real for a second. If you're a buyer, don't go power of sale hunting like you're on a treasure show. These deals move fast, sometimes often need cash ready offers, and they can come with legal complexities and no warranties on closing. So there are risks involved with these kind of deals and they're more complex. So you need to be prepared to spend some money and do some work after the closing. If you're a seller, also don't panic when you hear the word distressed listing or power of sale. Your home's value isn't suddenly collapsing, but it does mean buyers are watching closely and presentation matters more than ever when you want to sell your home compared to the house down the street that is on a power of sale. If you're a homeowner under stress, call your lender before it spirals. Banks actually don't want to take your property because it's expensive, it's time consuming, and it hurts their balance sheet as well. Sometimes they'll extend your amortization, or maybe sometimes they agree to restructure payments if you reach out to them early. Communication can literally save your home. Okay, so here's the bigger picture that fascinates me. Toronto real estate machine is a massive one, and in my opinion is one of the biggest real estate machines in North America. Yet even with over 1,200 power of sale listings this year up to this point, the market hasn't collapsed. We have had double digits interest before in the 90s and the city survived. We've had foreign buyer taxes, we have had stress tests, we have had rent freezes. Somehow Toronto keeps bouncing back. Why? Because people still want to live in the city. Jobs, immigration, lifestyle, the demand floor is stubbornly high in my opinion, and data and the numbers also support that as well. So while distressed listings are a warning sign, they are not the apocalypse. If anything, they're a sign that the system is working. Bad debt is just being flushed out of the system. So here's my thoughts on the market cycles. Markets, as many of you may know already, markets move in cycles, always have and always will. There are no exceptions. We had a crazy run up during the COVID, couple of years after the COVID. Now we are in the come down. Some people will lose, few people, let's call it, will lose, others will enter the market for the first time. It's not fair, I know that, but it's how the financial gravity works. And once that process plays out, usually it is painful, I know that, the next chapter begins. So when I see these power of sale listings or these headlines like the ones that we saw in this article, I don't see the doom. I see a market that is trying to reset itself and it's getting ready for the next leg up. We don't know when would be the next leg up, but this is what I see, that the market is getting ready, market is resetting and getting ready for the next leg up. So let's wrap up. Power of sale is not foreclosure. It is faster, less messy way for banks to recover their money here in Canada, in Ontario. So yes, distressed listings are rising, but they still make up only about 1% of the total listings. And the trend tells us some homeowners are in trouble, but the market overall isn't collapsing. So if anything, this is is the market doing what it's supposed to do, correcting, rebalancing, and preparing for the next cycle. So let us know in the comments below. Do you think is Toronto's housing market cracking or just clearing out the excess? In my opinion, it's a little bit of both. But if the history is any guide to us, this city bends, but it rarely breaks. So thanks for tuning in and watching this video. If this video gave you a clear picture of what's really happening behind the headlines, do me a favor, share it with your friends, follow the show, and drop a comment with your thoughts. And if you would like to book a consultation meeting with me, you can use the link down below.